Now the latest ITV News Central with Samina Ali Khan and Bob Warman.
Hello and welcome to the programme. Coming up, 2 newborn babies die and their mother is in a coma as paramedics are locked out of a tower block.
Thousands of jobs go at Rolls-Royce. Workers fear for the future at its factories in the Midlands.
Birmingham City's boss gets ready for his first game at home, saying things have got to improve and quickly.
And we get a bird's eye view as giant Christmas trees make their way to the West Midlands.
Good evening. Twin newborn babies have died and their mother is in a coma after paramedics were unable to get into a block of flats. Jocelyn Bennett, who was 32 weeks pregnant, dialed 999 when she felt unwell at her home. However, when paramedics arrived, they couldn't get into the tower block.
Jocelyn's family have blamed a faulty lock. Her baby girls were delivered by an emergency caesarean but suffered multiple organ failure. Callum Watkinson sent this report.
This is Pleck House in Druids Heath, where 27-year-old Jocelyn Bennett, heavily pregnant, called for an ambulance at about 20 to 6 last Wednesday morning after suffering a placental abruption. By the time paramedics arrived here, she was not able to let them in herself, and it was another half hour before they got to her after gaining entry with the help of the police. She was rushed to Birmingham Women's Hospital, where she gave birth by caesarean section to twin baby girls who Jocelyn's family have called Melody and Rose. Both were born 8 weeks premature, both suffered multiple organ failure and both have spent the entirety of their short lives on life support. Now, when we arrived here at lunchtime, we found an electrician working on the entry phone system and we were told by another resident that it has been defective for as long as she has lived here.
It doesn't work at all. There used to be a code you could punch in, but when they came to fix it a few months ago, they connected ours and lost everyone else. Then they connected everyone else's and now ours don't work, and now none of it works.
In a statement, Birmingham City Council, which owns this block, said we have systems to provide emergency access to our blocks for the emergency services, and an urgent investigation was commissioned as soon as we were made aware of this matter. Jocelyn Bennett remains in a coma in hospital. If and when she wakes up, it will be to the news that her baby daughter's life support has now been switched off. The card on a bunch of flowers left here by members of her family reads, "Melody and Rose, time to go now. You've been playing with Mummy for 6 precious days." Callum Watkinson, ITV News, Druids Heath.
Rolls-Royce has announced that thousands of jobs are to go as part of a programme to reduce costs and improve efficiency. It says 2,600 jobs will be lost over the next 18 months, mainly in the aerospace division.
The company employs staff at 4 locations in the Midlands, including its headquarters in Derby, Warwick and Anstey near Coventry. The chief executive said these job cuts will not be the last, as James Clark reports.
A warning earlier this year by Rolls-Royce that the company would fail to grow in 2014 because of defence spending cuts. That was brought home today when it announced it was getting rid of 2,600 jobs. It could affect a number of sites across the Midlands, including Derby, Hucknall in Nottinghamshire, Warwick and Anstey near Coventry. But it's not yet clear how many posts will go at each site.
We'll be working with our employee representatives over the coming weeks. We started consultation this afternoon to make sure that we can do whatever we can to achieve these reductions through voluntary means wherever possible.
Rolls-Royce currently directly employs more than 21,000 people across the UK. Today's job losses will mainly impact its aerospace operations, with the majority going next year.
Certainly the long-term outlook for Rolls-Royce remains strong. We have a strong order book, we have strong positions in growing markets around the world, but certainly the near-term economic realities are going to require us to respond, and that's why we're announcing the reductions today. The strategy hasn't changed. and we have great prospects and will continue to develop the business and a stronger business for the long term.
The reason, according to the company, which is globally known as an engineering giant, is to cut costs and improve operational efficiency. Rolls-Royce has also warned that today's bleak news will not be the last of its kind. James Clark, ITV News.
Well, the Unite Union issued a statement saying Rolls-Royce is in danger of making decisions in the short term that it will later regret. They went on to say this is a bitter blow to a proud workforce and we'll be doing everything we can to fight for jobs and skills.
Coventry City Council is warning it could continue to make substantial cuts to its services because of unprecedented financial pressure. Officials say they may have to find savings of £65 million by 2017, with £15 million being cut from its budget for next year.
That could result in the loss of 1,000 jobs and around 100 centres for children, families, adult education and libraries having to close. They'll be replaced by 5 large centres. Charlotte Grant reports now on Coventry's plans to downsize its services.
It's the action plan that could see council-run services like children's centres, libraries and community centres in Coventry radically changed, as the council aims to save tens of millions of pounds.
We're having to take some really difficult decisions about what services we continue to run and what services we stop running in the future. So we're looking in depth at every aspect of everything that we do to try and make sure that the council is on a firm footing for the future.
So the council's plan would be to close many of the libraries and play centres around the city, instead creating 5 super hubs, 1 in the centre and 4 in the surrounding areas. But along with the cutbacks come the job losses. Around 1,000 posts would need to go by 2017.
The decimation of public services to the people of Coventry is ultimately the worry, and then of course our members' loss of jobs. That's a major worry in an economy where, you know, in spite of what they say nationally, there isn't a growth in jobs locally as we would like.
So far, the council's already sold off its shares in the Rico Arena, but now other council-owned buildings like Coombe Abbey and its country park could be put up for sale. The Labour-led council blames the cuts from central government, but the Conservatives say it's still a difficult financial climate.
I think that the plan should go ahead in the sense that we do need to make the cuts, but I think there should be full consultation, and I would also say that the cuts have to be proportionate.
The council says it will do what it can to protect those most vulnerable. It will be several months before the people of Coventry know just how much they'll be affected. Charlotte Grant, ITV News.
In other news, 2 men have been jailed after they flung more than £200,000 worth of drugs out of a car window during a police pursuit. The chase, filmed by the police, lasted almost half an hour, with the car dodging in and out of traffic at speeds of over 100 miles per hour. The men threw bags of heroin out of the car as they drove along the M6. Police tried to stop them a number of times before finally managing to box the car in and manoeuvre it onto the verge. It was part of a pre-planned drugs operation, and the men have been jailed for 6 years.
Thieves have used a forklift truck to remove a cash machine at Morven in Worcestershire. The raid happened at the cash dispenser outside the Marks & Spencer store at the town's retail park at 2 o'clock this morning. It's believed the robbers abandoned the forklift truck before escaping. It's thought a red Mitsubishi pickup truck and a black Renault Megane were involved in the robbery. A 38-year-old man was arrested in Ledbury on suspicion of theft. Police are appealing for witnesses.
Pupils are back in lessons at a school in Birmingham today after it was forced to close for 5 weeks following a suspected arson attack at a factory next door. Yardley School was closed because of fears of asbestos contamination after the blaze at A&S Supplies and Tyseley Carpet Warehouse in September.
Figures obtained by ITV Central reveal that in the past 6 months, hundreds of women with female genital mutilation have been seen by health workers in Midlands hospitals.
It comes after the government made it compulsory for hospitals to record every case of FGM to see just how widespread it is. Campaigners say the move is a step in the right direction, but FGM survivors say more needs to be done. Our health correspondent Victoria Davis has more.
All these women are originally from the Gambia in Africa, and they have all had female genital mutilation performed on them when they were children as part of a cultural tradition.
I was at the age of 5, and I was told that we were going to a relative's house to attend a party. So our parents bought us new clothes, and then we were all excited. We went there, and to our disappointment, we found out that the party was not a party. Instead, our smiles turned out to be tears.
They will grab you, blindfold you, and then 2 elders, some will hold your legs. They will take one of your legs apart and the other one apart, and then somebody will hold your hands, and then they will cover your mouth so that people won't hear you scream. I was at the age of 8. I can remember everything still now.
Adama nearly died from the blood loss. Now living in Birmingham, all these women say they still suffer from the consequences of FGM, including problems giving birth. Doctors say FGM has no health benefits. It's illegal in this country, but is still being performed on children. It's estimated that 60,000 girls are at risk of FGM in this country every year, a number which health workers say is simply too high.
I see around 6 to 7 women every week. It's far too many who have gone through this barbaric practice where they have so much suffering and causes the most vast amount of distress, pain and complications for women generally, and it needs to stop.
The government agrees, which is why since April hospitals have been required to record every case of FGM, and the numbers are already shocking. Figures obtained by ITV Central from just 4 hospitals in the West Midlands show that in the last 6 months, 418 women were seen with FGM. But in reality, that figure is likely to be far higher, as many other hospitals were unable to release their statistics.
How significant do you think it is that the Department of Health is now making hospitals record data?
There's always been uncertainty about the amount of women who are presenting in hospitals, and this is a way of actually collaborating that data and getting it together. I think it's going to be a big shock to them. They think it's something that just happens, a tiny little bit here and isn't really an issue, and I think people will be really surprised and shocked to see the amount of women who have suffered this.
Alison has been running a specialist FGM clinic at Heartlands Hospital in Birmingham for 12 years. She believes the government is finally taking steps to tackle it. But according to these women, more needs to be done.
You have to create awareness, health education, to make people realize what they are doing is bad and it has some lifetime implications.
Now that I had these experiences, I wouldn't want my child to go through it. I can't allow it.
These women say they are FGM survivors and are hoping by speaking out they'll help to save the next generation of girls. Victoria Davis, ITV News.
Well, Victoria joins us now in the studio. Victoria, we know FGM, the practice of it, is illegal in this country, but just how widespread is the problem in the Midlands?
Well, we just don't know, and this is why the government wants hospitals to record this data. Now, our own statistics show from 4 hospital trusts, more than 400 women seen in the last 6 months, but really that's just a small snapshot, because in reality campaigners say you can at least double that figure. Now, earlier we spoke to MP Keith Vaz, and he says what we need isn't statistics but action.
These are shocking figures, and I want to commend Central TV for pursuing this information. This should be online information available in the public domain so that decisions can be made. It's not enough just to record the information. These cases ought to be referred to the relevant authorities, and those involved in the cutting of young girls need to be the subject of a full investigation, of prosecution and of being charged.
So what do the campaigners suggest should be done to end this practice?
Well, you heard there Keith Vaz talk about prosecution, but actually FGM survivors told me that what they want is education and awareness within the communities themselves, because this is a deeply rooted cultural practice, and they say it's going to take a lot to change people's beliefs. But midwife I spoke to there also says she wants more education within the health profession itself, because she said if you can't identify it, how can you tackle it? And I'll be talking about how you can be policing this tomorrow night.
Victoria, thanks very much.
Well, the time has just gone 6:15. You're watching ITV News Central. Still to come on the programme. A home debut for Birmingham City's new boss. A 5-year-old girl from Walsall is recovering well after surgery to repair a gap in her spine. Rosie Davis was born with a rare condition that meant 5 of her vertebrae were missing.
Surgeons amputated her lower legs, which she couldn't use anyway, and used the bones to bridge the gap. It's only the second time the procedure has ever been attempted. Emma Woods reports.
They cut off her legs to save her life. Not that 5-year-old Rosie Davis has had much time to miss them. She's too busy enjoying the newfound freedom the operation has given her after doctors in Birmingham used part of her tibia to repair a gap in her spine.
Now, because her spine's completely straight, she's fast. She goes upstairs, she climbs everything. Nothing is a challenge. She just never sees herself as having a disability or unable to do anything. She'll just take anything in her stride, and if she can't, she'll adapt to do it.
As one of the surgeons involved in the procedure explains, with the help of Rosie's CT scans, she was born with the lumbar region of her spine missing. Where the rest of us have 5 large vertebrae, she had empty space. David Marks knew what the future held for Rosie thanks to the example of an older patient with the same condition he saw 20 years ago.
Her problem was that she couldn't sit and eat, and she was having difficulty breathing because with no support between her pelvis and her chest, she fell forward and her chest rested on her thighs. And so we were fairly clear that this was a thing that unfortunately was going to happen to Rosie as her upper torso, which is normal, got bigger.
The solution was to remove Rosie's lower legs and use the bone to bridge the gap. The joint was supported by a specially designed implant attached to her pelvis. The decision to go ahead was not a difficult one for her mother.
She was like a time bomb, and we didn't know what damage it was going to do to the organs. You know, losing the lower half of her legs, which were of no use to her. It wasn't even a decision, because I'd rather have her as she is now than not at all.
Can you do it again?
What do you think of the doctors who fixed your back?
I think they're brilliant.
Rosie was only the second person in the world to have this operation. She now has every chance of living well into old age, and she has her heart set on a modified Paralympic bicycle. The only worry for Mandy these days, it seems, is how she's going to keep up. Emma Woods, ITV News.
That's a determined young lady, isn't she? Now, in a moment, the giant Christmas trees on their aerial journey to the Midlands.
But first we've got some sports news, and it will be an emotional night for former Birmingham City player Gary Rowett as he makes his return to St Andrews, this time as the club's manager. The Blues face Watford in the Championship, and Rowett says the fans can make it a night to remember.
That's going to be great. I think it'd be fantastic if we can get 20,000 plus into St Andrews, get it rocking. So we need as many people coming down and supporting us as we can. And like I found in the past, and it was one of the reasons why I took the job, is
from Kielder Park in Northumberland. Derek Proud went to see how they get the massive trees out of the middle of a dense, boggy forest.
Anyone who's struggled to get an 8-foot Christmas tree into a 6-foot car boot knows that transporting our most famous symbol of Christmas isn't always easy. Spare a thought then for the team tasked with getting some of the country's biggest Christmas trees out of the middle of England's biggest man-made forest.
We can extract with a tractor, but in a lot of situations where the ground's really boggy, really wet, or really sensitive, it might be a site of special scientific interest. We have to take them out with a helicopter because we don't want to do any ground damage.
The Sitka spruce are hoisted up and taken to a site near one of the main roads into the forest, where they can be loaded onto lorries.
Keeled trees are particularly good because of their size as much as anything. For civic and amenity trees, we need decent size and decent bulk, and they're just not available elsewhere in the country really, and these trees are particularly good colour and particularly good form.
And for the pilot of the helicopter, this is what it all looks like. It's an operation which the crew have to plan in great detail.
If it's too windy, we can't do anything. If it's too wet, no chance. Basically, people on the tracks or on the country parks, anything like that has to be marshalled. It's quite a big operation, really, to get us to put down and lift off again.
The helicopter can lift 2 tons and has to land for refuelling every 40 minutes.
We have some of the best sites in the country, to be fair, yeah. It is one of the best jobs I think you could have. See everything and you get involved with it all, it's good.
This is by far the best part of my job. I've been in Kielder now for nearly 3 years. The Christmas tree season here lasts about 6 to 8 weeks, and the rest of the year seems quite boring in compared to Christmas trees. It really is a fantastic job.
And the question on everyone's lips, how can these trees be cut now for Christmas without dropping all their needles before the big day?
What happens when you put a tree in your house? You've got central heating, it's warm, 20, 25 degrees. The trees will drop their needles pretty quickly. If you leave them outside, they'll last for 2 or 3 months, and these trees will still be going strong in January, February time, to be quite honest with you, and they'll still be looking really well.
With 60 million trees in this forest alone, we're well set for many happy Christmases to come. Derek Proud, ITV News.
I thought the question on everybody's lips would be, how much does it cost?
Yeah, they glossed over that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Probably quite a lot.
I would have
but
thought
it puts
so.
you in the mood for Christmas, doesn't it?
Certainly does.
And obviously the key to keeping them looking lovely is the temperatures.
Yeah, leave it outside. Yep.
Yeah,
And the
not in my house. Yeah.
The temperatures falling quite rapidly, really. And, well, here's Amanda Houston with the outlook for the next 24 hours. Here she is.
Wishing you a warm winter. Gas Central Heating from Northern Gas Heating sponsors the ITV local weather.
Hello and a very good evening to you. So big thanks to Scott Matthews for tonight's stunning picture. It has been absolutely lovely across many parts of the region today. And looking ahead to the next few days, we'll get to see quite a bit of sunshine throughout Wednesday, but rainfall coming our way on Thursday. And brace yourself. Some fairly chilly nights to come too. Now for tonight there's still a chance of the odd light shower in places, but for most of us it will be largely dry. We've got some long clear spells, but with those light winds that is going to allow those temperatures to fall close to freezing, so there will be a touch of frost in places. And what that means for tomorrow is it will be a nippy old start to the day first thing. There will be some sunshine but also a bit of cloud bubbling up at times, so we may see 1 or 2 showers in places, but for most of us it's a dry story, more in the way of sunshine towards the end of the afternoon. But with that northerly airflow still feeling quite chilly, we're looking at highs between 7 and 10 degrees, that's 50 in Fahrenheit. Now if you are heading out to any bonfire displays tomorrow evening, then it's not looking too bad, mostly dry with light winds but wrap up warm. It will be feeling rather chilly, and as I say, some rainfall coming our way on Thursday. Bye bye.
Gas Central Heating from Northern Gas Heating sponsors the ITV local weather.
And just before we go, let's give you a reminder of tonight's top stories on ITV News Central. Twin newborn babies have died and their mother is in a coma after paramedics were unable to get into a block of flats. Jocelyn Bennett, who was 32 weeks pregnant, dialed 999 when she felt unwell at her home. However, when paramedics arrived, they couldn't get into the tower block.
Rolls-Royce has announced that 2,600 jobs are to go as part of a programme to reduce costs and improve efficiency. The company employs staff at 4 locations in the Midlands, including its headquarters in Derby, Warwick and Anstey near Coventry.
And there are also job cuts at Coventry City Council as they've announced they may have to find savings of £65 million by 2017, also cutting children's centres and closing libraries.
And that's the way our news and weather is looking so far today. The national and international news is coming up. We're back with the late update at 10:30. More updates on our website, and we're back tomorrow at 6 from the team. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.